Hello everyone, let's learn about HTTP protocol. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Some of you might have heard of the term called hyperlink. Any clickable link which takes you to a specific website is called as a hyperlink. Any text which contains a hyperlink is called as hypertext. Hypertext is referred to as HT in short. You'll find a lot of references to hypertext when it comes to the internet. An example of that would be HTTP protocol, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Next lecture, we are going to learn about HTML format. HT in HTML stands for hypertext. HTTP is what enables you to type a specific website into your browser and get the contents of that particular website from the remote server computer. HTTP is an example of a protocol. What exactly is a protocol? Protocol is nothing but a set of step-by-step rules for you to follow. The first step within the HTTP protocol will be about sending a request message from the client program or the client computer to the server program or the server computer. An example of that would be to ask for the home page of a specific website. That could either be index.html or about.html depending on how the website is configured. Another example of a HTTP request message would be to ask for a specific logo on that website. An example would be logo.gif. You need three things in order to send a HTTP request message from your client computer to the server computer. The first thing is going to be the domain name, which DNS enables us to convert into an IP address, which is the address assigned to a specific remote server. The second thing which you need is the port number, which is going to enable you to identify the specific application program running within your remote server machine. The third thing which you need is what is called as resource. You can think of this as the file name, which is going to refer to the file within the remote server which you want to download onto your laptop. When you funnel all of these three things together, you're getting what is called as URL. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Here is an example of URL, which is the Wikipedia page on URL. Let's talk about the components of this URL. You have domain name, which is n.wikipedia.org. Then you have the port number, which is 443 because we are using HTTPS requests here. And then you have the remote resource, which is nothing but /wiki/URL. The port specification is optional because by default HTTPS refers to port 443. That's why you'll not see a reference to port numbers that often in the internet. Let's talk about how to specify the file name or the remote resource that we want to download onto our local client computer. Here is an example of a HTTP request. We are saying that we want to get this particular remote resource, which is going to be /about.html. Here is the example of HTTP response that you would get from the remote server when you send that particular request. Let's look at the details of HTTP request and HTTP response over here. The first detail that I want you to focus on is the name of the remote resource, which is going to be about.html. This indicates that we want the data of about.html to get displayed within the web browser. Then we are sending a GET request, which is going to enable us to fetch data from the remote server. Let's talk about the components of the HTTP response here. The first thing which I want you to focus on is this 200 OK. The 200 in 200 OK is something which is called as status code. Status code indicates whether we were able to get a successful response to our HTTP request message. 200 is meant to be the good status code that indicates that your request went through and you got the response without any issues. 404 is file not found. There's no remote resource which has that name. 500 is internal server error. You don't have to know any other details about any of these status codes. Your HTTP response is going to contain other useful information like what is the type of the content that is being returned, which in this case would be text or HTML because we asked for about.html resource. Then you're going to get the content length, which is going to be length of this particular HTTP response message. And you have other useful information like details about the remote server and the date during which that particular HTTP response message was generated. All of this information is called as header information within the HTTP response packet. Along with the header information, you're going to have the actual contents of about.html inside the HTTP response packet. Message and packet are interchangeably used, they just refer to the exact same thing. One more detail which I want you to know about is the post method. Get method enables us to get data from the remote server. Post method enables us to upload data to the remote server. I'll be using the post method to upload the lecture video onto YouTube. There are other examples of HTTP methods like put and delete. For the purpose of this course, you do not need to know about any of those. You only need to know about what get and post method enable you to do. I'll wrap up this lecture video here. In the next video, we are going to learn about request module.